Hi, Karen Craig Parker here with your weekly Human Design Evolution Report. Every once in a while, I like to use these little reports to give us a bigger, broader overview on what's up on the planet right now. But before we do, let's explore the energies that are playing out in this week's celestial weather. The sun moves into the gate 13, the gate of narrative. The earth moves into the gate 7, the energy for collaboration. This puts into focus, and you've heard me say this before, the whole idea that the story we tell about who we are, the narrative we tell about ourselves, who we are, what we're here to do, the story of everything we've experienced in our life and the takeaways that we have from our life experiences contribute to this narrative that ultimately sets the tone and direction for where your life is going to take you. If you don't like what your life looks like, then you have to start first by crafting a different story, a new narrative. I've been saying this for like a year now, and part of the reason why I've been saying this for like a year now is because this is the big theme playing out in the celestial weather. We are in a cycle where we are being invited to revisit the stories we tell about who we are, both personally and collectively. It is a cycle of deep and profound healing that is inviting us to explore places where perhaps we have allowed ancient pain, old wounds, decades of trauma, lifetimes of trauma that maybe didn't even happen to us personally, impact the perception of who we are. Ultimately, what this has had the potential to do is to spin us out into a consciousness of lack, a place where we've been crafting narratives rooted in the idea that we either are not enough, our self-worth isn't measuring up, or that what we have in our life isn't enough. That lack consciousness, that story we write from lack consciousness, really limits what we're allowing ourselves to create. We are not our human design chart, nor are you your Enneagram, nor are you any of the parameters that define your life story. That's just an identity you're holding. Your human design chart and the path that you're following is there because it's supporting you in fulfilling your soul's curriculum. And personally, I believe, and I think the stars reflect this, that part of what our soul's curriculum is calling us forth to master in this incarnation is letting go, doing the rewriting of the human script, letting go of all of those places where we're telling ourselves a story that we're not enough, not big enough, we don't have enough, we can't create enough. Here's why this is important. The second thing that's happening as we evolve and why storytelling is so important is that we are so deeply conditioned to know truth from logic, that we have been trained so well in our school systems and from the world around us, from science, which has its place and certainly has its merits. I will say that as a scientist. But it's also a place where we can predict the future based on past patterns, based on our understanding of past patterns. What if the era that we are about to walk into has unprecedented patterns? What if what we're walking into is relatively unknown, and that in fact, the future will be crafted by people who are able to break free from the past patterns, which are predicting, a pretty dark future. People who are able to tap into a different place of creativity, a different way of knowing what is true and what is not, what is the next right step. People who have the capacity through the sensual awareness of the power of their emotional energy, how to break old patterns, how to disrupt old patterns and create from a place of improbability, but not impossibility. Maybe it's improbable at this point that the things we want for the world to be an equitable, sustainable place of peace. Maybe that's improbable at the moment, but as we recraft the narratives that we're telling and we get rid of old conditioning and old programming that tells us that's impossible, that encourages us to create now, not from a place of lack, but from a place of possibility and abundance, that we might be able to increase the probability that this seemingly improbable idea could actually be possible. there is so much more accident and serendipity and synchronicity happening on this planet than perhaps we realize. And that when we tell a story about who we are that says we are infinitely powerful creators who are only limited by our perceptions, people who are designed to tell a story that is rooted in the heart of who we are, and that heart contains the code for how do we live and create compassionately and sustainably in the world. And when we're building towards that, and we're telling a story about that, instead of telling a story that says, well, we can't do that, or, oh, we can't do that, there's not enough, or, oh, that's not possible, we'll have to figure out how to get along, and we can't do that either. If we're not telling that old story anymore, and we're instead crafting a narrative about how we can take the blessings and the gifts that we have and harness them and leverage them with each other's blessings and gifts, and we come together from a place of unity, a place that allows us to fulfill the full potential of the human condition, which, by the way, if we look at human design as a blueprint or a template for that condition, says we are created, we are capable, we are designed to create a world of equitable, sustainable peace that is rooted and takes its direction from its connection to source, that is designed to create vitality for others, that allows us to receive all the support that we need simply because we exist, that is taking an aspect of its direction in compassion and sharing, that allows us to serve the world from an empowered place where our self-expression is the key element that allows us to fulfill our purpose, meaning we fulfill our purpose by being who we are, not what we do. That's the essence, the true story of who we are. If we look at the human design as a blueprint, we're building that story instead. So that's the big, humongous overview of what's going on in the celestial weather. Obviously, on a personal level, if we're going to tell a different story about humanity, we have to start first with our own story. If you can't believe or be in a story that allows you to be sustainable meaning you're creating from a place of enoughness, because we are sustainable when we have enoughness, then we can't create sustainably in the world. So the invitation this week is to explore, where are you holding still limitations in that narrative you're telling about who you are? Where are you not embracing the fullness of your enoughness so that you can create sustainably in your own life and consequently add the story of your sustainable nature to the stories of other people's sustainable natures so that we can collaborate and create even more for each other and for everybody else? That's the job this week, right? It is our role this week to work on our story, to literally tell the story of who we are from a different place, a more expansive place, a more truth-based place, so that we can begin to create sustainably, not only for ourselves, but ultimately for the world. That's really the challenge for this week, so get to work. We got a lot of work to do. You are more than enough.